if the underlying structure of reality is mutable, which it is, and the only way that you can adapt to it is by generating variance and having most of them perish, except for the ones that manage more or less by chance to keep up, how do you define real? And a Darwinist would say, and this would a pragmatist would say too, you embody real to the best degree that real can be attained. And it's not very good. Your real is only good enough for about 80 years. But you know what else they would say is that's as real as it gets. Whatever reality is so damn complicated, this multi-layered patterned array, that you can't even model it without using death as the mechanism. You can't do it. And even if you do use death, it's almost all death. And even for the parts that aren't death, which is hardly any of it, your damn solution isn't that good. You know, you're going to wear out in 80 years. And that's, you got 3 billion years of trying behind you. And that's the best you can do. 80 damn years. You know, maybe if you're a parrot, you can get 150. And apparently there's some immortal jellyfish, which figures it'd be the damn jellyfish that would be immortal. So real might, you know, that's a whole different way about thinking about real. Now, you know, Nietzsche said life is truth. Truth serves life, sorry. And that's a Darwinian idea, even though he didn't take it from Darwin. It's like, there isn't anything more true than what evolution reveals as the model for reality. That's as true as it gets for us. And that's not a Newtonian reality. It's a multi-level, patterned, chaotic reality that we're trying to keep up with. And that's real. And so what that might mean is that the implications for action that I derive from that phenomena might be more indicative of what it is than an objective analysis. Because your truth, the degree to which you embody truth, insofar as it can be determined within a Darwinian framework, is entirely measured by your success in living and propagating. And that's it. There isn't anything under that. Now, maybe there is, but if you're a Darwinian, that's it. And I think Darwin's right, all things considered, and Newton is wrong. Plus, we also know that Newton is wrong. Now, the whole Darwinian thing is more complicated than we thought, because you've run... Do you know what epigenetics are? How many of you know about that? Well, that's pretty good. So your biological education, like, demolishes your historical education. How many people don't know what epigenetics is? It's okay, it's relatively new. Anyways, it turns out that your parents' experience can alter their genetic structure in such a way that it alters your genetic structure. It's like, oh, that's something, we didn't expect that, that's for sure, and nobody knows what the final, consequence of that will be. But it looks like there's more to the evolutionary story than mere random production and natural selection. There's more to it than that. Who knows how much. So anyways, when the phenomenologists say we react to meaning first, that kind of opens a question. It's like, well, is the meaning real? And that opens another question, which is, what do you mean by real? And then that opens another question. It's like, well, is it Newton real or is it Darwin real? Well, Newton's wrong. That leaves Darwin. And Darwin real? That's about as real as it gets. In fact, that might be as real as it gets. If a partial entity is trying to model a complex totality, all they're ever going to be able to do is embody a partial representation of that. And it's not going to be that good. But it's going to be as good as they can get. And that's as true as it can get. So the phenomenologists, they have this weird idea. We perceive meaning. It's like, guess what? That's how your brain is set up. You first perceive meaning. And then with a lot of work, you turn that into an object perception. Christ, God only knows how much exploration you have to do before you do that. How long do you think it takes a child to handle its soother before it builds up an accurate representation of the soother? It's going to be chewing on that thing like mad. It's going to be taking it out and checking it out and turning it around and banging it against things. And it has to do all that, including the tactile interaction and the experimentation with the thing across situations to establish, say, object permanence. It has to do all that before it can see the thing. Like early AI researchers who were basically under the influence of behaviorists who basically said the object is given, and so they could treat the brain like it didn't even exist. You know, the object's just there, you can just see the world. It's like that turned out to be seriously wrong. It's damn difficult to get a computer to see the world. Now it turns out you have to put the bloody things inside bodies before they could even do it. Because you really can't perceive the world without a body. Because perception is for bodily action. And without the framework within which, because really what you're doing, and this is a Piagetian idea too, this is a pattern, this thing. And the pattern exists at multiple levels, including, say, the advertising level and your memories of Coke and all the bloody jingles you know and all that. But this, when I look at that, I map its pattern onto my retina, and the pattern is a pattern because it's extending across time, right? So it's not like smoke, it's not just dissipating, there it is, it's staying there across time. I map that onto my retina, and then the retina matches it onto my hand. That's the Coke can. And actually the Coke can is all of this. And you might say, that's not what it is because it's made of aluminum. It's like, yeah, it's made out of aluminum. But that's only one part of what it is, and it's not necessarily even the most important part because it could be made out of plastic, and you know, what the hell difference would that make? You know? So it's pretty damn weird when you start to think about it, because people make the claim that meaning is epiphenomenal. It's like, there's no real meaning, the universe is this dead thing, and if we all went extinguished, you know, tomorrow, there'd just be a bunch of meaningless marbles rotating in space. Well, first of all, even that's not true, because God only knows what's out there if there's nothing to perceive it. You know, the physicists tell us it's more like a vast, potential, fluctuating quantum field. You know, and maybe it doesn't even turn into stars and planets until there's someone to look at it. You know, and you might think that's ridiculous, but if you think about it for a while, you'll see that there's really something to it. You know, because you are the thing that specifies the level of analysis, right? You know, the way you look at the world, you don't see the atoms, you don't see the subatomic particles, you don't see the little rocks, you see planet-sized things when you look out into space. And you know, you see it at a particular slice of time that's part of, maybe your refresh rate is something like 60 hertz. So what you see is the universe sliced into 60 hertz slices. And you think, that's real. It's like, yeah, so is all the rest of it, including its huge expanse of time, from beginning to end. You don't see any of that. It's there. So what's there? All those things at the same time. And what does all that add up to? The physicists seem to be telling us it adds up to a pool of quantum potential that isn't realized until there's something that conscious that interacts with it. It's like, who knows?